You already know financial anxiety feels bad. That's not news. What you probably don't know is the specific, documented ways it degrades your decision-making, not just emotionally but mechanically. The way it literally changes the options you can see, the risks you can accurately assess, the time horizons you can plan across, and the social interactions you can navigate effectively. Financial anxiety doesn't just make you feel worse. It makes you systematically worse at handling money. And the worse it makes you at handling money, the more financial anxiety you have. It is one of the most vicious feedback loops in behavioral economics. This video is about the specific damage financial anxiety causes, damage most people don't even recognize as anxiety-related, and what you can actually do about it. Subscribe before we go in. New video every week. Let's get specific. Let me start by defining financial anxiety precisely, because it's different from financial stress and the distinction matters. Financial stress is the acute response to a specific financial problem. A bill you can't pay, a job you lost, a debt that came due. It's intense, temporary, and resolves when the specific problem resolves. Financial anxiety is the chronic, generalized apprehension about money that persists even when no specific crisis is present. You can have financial anxiety with a fully funded emergency account. You can have financial anxiety with a stable income. The anxiety is not about the specific problem, it's about the anticipation of possible problems, and it runs as a background process continuously. The distinction matters because the interventions are different. Financial stress is resolved by addressing the financial problem. Financial anxiety is resolved by addressing the anxiety mechanism, which is often independent of the financial situation. Many financially stable people carry significant financial anxiety inherited from unstable childhoods. Many people in genuine financial difficulty have low anxiety because they grew up in environments that normalized financial uncertainty. Understanding which you have changes what you should work on. Now let's get into the specific damage financial anxiety does to decision-making. Because this is where it gets dark in a way most people don't expect. Damage 1. Attentional narrowing. Financial anxiety consumes attentional resources. Specifically, it pulls attention toward potential financial threats, scanning for problems, anticipating emergencies, rehearsing worst-case scenarios. This attention pull is automatic and nearly impossible to suppress through conscious effort. The result is attentional narrowing. Your effective attention is reduced, and what remains is disproportionately focused on financial threat detection rather than financial opportunity identification. Studies using attention tracking technology show that financially anxious individuals spend significantly more time attending to negative financial information, debt amounts, deficit signals, risk indicators, and significantly less time attending to positive financial information, growth opportunities, favorable rates, income-building possibilities. You literally cannot see as many opportunities when you're anxious. Not because the opportunities aren't there. Because your attention is occupied elsewhere, scanning for threats. Damage 2. Probability distortion. Financial anxiety systematically distorts your probability estimates. Specifically, it causes you to overestimate the probability of negative financial outcomes and underestimate the probability of positive ones. This is not pessimism as a personality trait. It is a documented neurological effect of anxiety on the brain's probability weighting systems. Research using probability estimation tasks with financially anxious subjects consistently shows the same pattern. Negative financial outcomes are assigned probabilities 25 to 40% higher than their actual base rates. Positive financial outcomes are assigned probabilities 20 to 35% lower than their actual base rates. In practical terms, when you're financially anxious, the stock market crash you're worried about feels more likely than it actually is. The job loss you fear feels more probable than the statistics warrant. The investment return you're hoping for feels less achievable than historical data suggests. Every financial decision you make through the lens of financial anxiety is being made with systematically wrong probability estimates. The consequences compound. You hold too much cash, overestimating crash probability. You underinvest in your career, overestimating failure probability. You overinsure against unlikely scenarios while underinsuring against likely ones. You avoid risks that are actually favorable and accept risks that are actually unfavorable, because the anxiety has inverted your risk perception. Damage 3. Temporal distortion. Financial anxiety compresses your effective time horizon, sometimes dramatically. Under moderate anxiety, the planning horizon typically compresses from years to months. Under severe anxiety, it can compress from months to weeks or even days. This compression is not a choice. It is a neurological consequence of the threat detection system being in a chronic elevated alert state. The compressed time horizon has cascading effects. Long-term investing becomes emotionally inaccessible. A time horizon measured in decades requires emotional engagement with a future that anxiety is telling you is too uncertain to plan for. Compound interest becomes motivationally inert. Your brain cannot hold the future value as emotionally real when the future feels dangerous and uncertain. Debt payoff strategies that require years of consistent behavior become difficult to maintain. Because the time horizon needed to see the strategy through is beyond what anxiety allows you to engage with. The practical result: financially anxious people make systematically shorter-term financial decisions than the math of their situation warrants. They choose immediate debt payment over long-term investment even when the math favors investment. They keep emergency funds far larger than necessary, because the compressed horizon makes a larger immediate cushion feel more valuable than a larger long-term portfolio. They avoid illiquid investments regardless of return, because the compressed horizon makes liquidity feel critical even when it objectively isn't. If this is giving you new vocabulary for experiences you've had with money, subscribe. I put this out every week and it's designed to give you exactly this kind of framework. Damage 4. Social financial behavior impairment. Financial anxiety produces specific, well-documented changes in social behavior around money, and these social changes have concrete financial consequences. Avoidance of salary negotiation. Financially anxious individuals negotiate salary significantly less often than non-anxious counterparts, and when they do negotiate, they anchor lower and accept first offers more frequently. The anxiety produces a specific prediction. Negotiation will damage the relationship, the offer will be rescinded, the outcome will be worse than accepting. These predictions are almost never accurate, but anxiety doesn't update predictions based on accuracy, only on threat salience. Avoidance of financial conversations with partners. Financial anxiety is one of the leading predictors of financial secrecy in relationships. Not lying, but avoidance. Financially anxious individuals avoid discussing the joint financial picture, which means joint financial decisions are made without full information, debt accumulates without shared accountability, and financial problems reach crisis level before both partners are aware of them. Avoidance of professional financial advice. The irony here is almost perfect. Financially anxious people, who most need quality financial guidance, are the least likely to seek it, because seeking it requires confronting their financial situation directly, which triggers the anxiety they're trying to manage by avoiding it. Damage 5. The anxiety decision quality spiral. Here's where the feedback loop closes in the most damaging way. Financial anxiety degrades decision quality. Poor financial decisions produce worse financial outcomes. Worse financial outcomes increase financial anxiety. Increased anxiety further degrades decision quality. The spiral goes down. A 2021 study from the Financial Health Network tracked 4,000 adults over 3 years, measuring financial anxiety levels and financial decision quality at regular intervals. The finding: a 1 standard deviation increase in financial anxiety was associated with a 23% decrease in financial decision quality scores, and that decrease in decision quality was in turn associated with a 31% higher probability of a negative financial event, job loss, significant debt increase, emergency fund depletion, within the following 12 months. The financial anxiety is not just a feeling. It is a predictor of financial outcomes, because it degrades the decisions that determine those outcomes. So what actually addresses financial anxiety? Not manages it, addresses it at the root. Intervention 1. Information exposure with structure. The counterintuitive finding about financial anxiety is that avoidance maintains it, while controlled information exposure reduces it. The typical response to financial anxiety is to avoid looking at the financial situation. Don't check the balance, don't open the statement, don't do the math. This avoidance keeps the anxiety-producing information out of consciousness, which feels like relief, but it prevents the anxiety from updating based on accurate information. Structured information exposure. A weekly or monthly financial review of a defined set of numbers, account balances, investment values, debt levels, in a calm, scheduled context, gradually reduces the anxiety response to financial information. The review initially feels uncomfortable. Over time it becomes routine. And routine financial information stops triggering the alarm response that maintains anxiety. This is essentially exposure therapy applied to financial information. And the research on it is consistent with the broader exposure therapy literature. Controlled, repeated exposure to anxiety triggers, without the catastrophe the anxiety predicts, reduces the anxiety response over time. Intervention 2. Separation of financial review from financial decision. One of the reasons financial review feels so threatening is that it collapses information gathering with decision making. You look at the balance and immediately feel the pressure to do something about it. This collapsing of review and decision amplifies anxiety because it means every review is also a high-stakes decision moment. Separate them. The review is just data collection. No decisions during review. Decisions happen 24 hours later in a scheduled, calm context. This separation reduces the threat valence of the review. It's just information, not a crisis requiring immediate response, which makes reviewing more bearable and more frequent. Intervention 3. Anxiety-decoupled decision protocols. Because financial anxiety degrades decision quality, high-stakes financial decisions should never be made while anxiety is elevated. If you receive a financial shock, an unexpected bill, a market downturn notification, a difficult conversation about debt, Impose a mandatory 24-hour decision moratorium. No financial decisions for 24 hours after a significant anxiety trigger. This is not procrastination. Almost no genuine financial decision is so time-sensitive that 24 hours materially changes the outcome, and the quality of the decision made after 24 hours of processing is measurably better than the decision made in the acute anxiety moment. Intervention 4. Physical anxiety reduction as financial strategy. This sounds like wellness advice and it's actually hard financial strategy. Financial anxiety is a physiological state. Elevated cortisol, activated amygdala, suppressed prefrontal cortex function. Physical interventions that reduce the physiological state directly improve financial decision quality. Specifically, aerobic exercise, 30 minutes, 3 to 5 times per week, has been shown in multiple studies to reduce cortisol levels by 10 to 15% and improve prefrontal cortex function. Sleep deprivation significantly worsens anxiety and decision quality. 7 to 9 hours of sleep is not a luxury recommendation, it's a decision quality optimization. Controlled breathing exercises, specifically 4-7-8 breathing or box breathing, activate the parasympathetic nervous system within minutes, reducing the acute anxiety response before financial review sessions. These are not alternative medicine. They are documented physiological interventions with quantified effects on the cognitive systems that determine financial decision quality. The bottom line: financial anxiety is not a side effect of your financial situation that you tolerate while you fix the money. It is an active agent in producing the outcomes you're trying to fix. Treating it directly, through information exposure, decision protocols, and physiological regulation, is not a soft add-on to financial management. It is financial management. Subscribe if you want more of this every week. Drop a comment. Do you have financial stress, financial anxiety, or both? The distinction matters, and I'll do a follow-up video on it.